So this week I've been refactoring a lot of the code in my game A Survival, and I decided to make a video on the concept of refactoring itself since I don't really have anything to show right now for the game. So let's talk about refactoring, what it is, and why you should be doing it on a regular basis. If you're looking to get into game development or have been a developer for a long time, then this information should be of interest to you. So let's get into it. Let's start by going over what refactoring even is, for those of you who don't know. If you already know, go ahead and skip to the next chapter. To explain it in the simplest terms, refactoring is the process of revising your code in an attempt to improve it in some way. There are many ways we can go about refactoring, such as simply changing the variable names to be more legible, or completely overhauling the code to utilize more advanced ideas. For example, you could change a variable that has a lengthy name like hyperspeed module to a shorthand version like HSM, or change the name of a function from fly to fly in a straight line, so it's more clear what the function is actually doing. Another example would be refactoring your code to utilize better architecture. And some people will say things like, why not just use the best code in the first place? Which is a valid response in some cases. However, sometimes the best way to do something will take far longer, and that means you can miss deadlines, which will get you into a lot of trouble both at your job and with your clients and customers. So now we have an idea of what refactoring is. But why do you need to refactor your games? Maybe you're some type of logical computerized god, but 99% of us are not. That means we often make mistakes or assumptions about how a system will work, or we just get something in place that does work but isn't really extensible. Ever worked on a game jam? 90% of the code in those games is slapped together with duct tape and bubble gum. If you were to try to take one of those prototypes and make a full game out of it, you would quickly hit a wall where you would have to revisit the code to add in additional functionality. Maybe your prototype didn't have sound, but now you need sound. Maybe you programmed all of your enemy code into one single class, and now you need to override the behavior of some particular part of the enemy to do something unique for this enemy. Designing good code architecture is extremely difficult and will often massively slow down production in the short term. Sounds like I'm making a lot of excuses as to why you should never design good code architecture, but I just realized the reality of development isn't always as ideal as we'd like it to be. And this doesn't even get into having other people contribute to your code base. Since there are a lot of factors as to why our code gets thoroughly spaghettified, we can just assume there is some amount of jank that can always be polished. Even very large games have problems with code that could probably be solved with refactoring. The problem is, once your game is released, it becomes infinitely more difficult to change anything about your game. The reason behind this is because every change will be scrutinized to the moon and back by your community. And that's the main reason you should be refactoring your code. Imagine that you have a plate of spaghetti and you want to make one single noodle in that pile of noodles slightly longer. If you only have a few noodles, then it's relatively easy to just tie a bit onto the end of one of the noodles. But if your plate is the size of an entire table, it can become nearly impossible to even find the noodle you want to fix. In contrast, if you had regularly refactored your code, all your noodles would be lined up and stacked, so you could easily return to any point and extend any noodle. So now we have two very good reasons why you should refactor your code. But what if I told you there's an even better reason? The best reason to refactor that code you wrote last year is you. If you've been programming for an entire year, there's a good chance that you have learned a lot, and there's probably all kinds of things that you didn't know about that you can revisit upon that old code to massively improve your game. Making games is an endless journey of learning, so take what you know and go make that old prototype that's collecting dust a full game. But before you leave, if you like the video, then please leave a like and comment below if you think refactoring is good for games. Subscribe for more videos in the future, and good luck.